He works with others. He does service work, and he's a good example of when one is willing, God will help him. And so, with no further from me, I'm gonna give you time. Just know that you're in for a ride.
Well, that went a little too quick. Better? Can you hear me? Happy 91st birthday, Alcoholics Anonymous. What one alcoholic can do with another and how far that can go. That's amazing. I need to thank a few people real quick. Definitely the committee. I've had the ability to see what happens behind the doors and watch this committee put this thing together for the last year, and it blows my mind how much work it is. And to see it firsthand like that, it deserves recognition. They really do a lot, so thank you, and I love you guys. I'd like to thank Doug Pearson for asking me. He's a real good friend of mine. Real good friend of mine. We didn't start out that way. Real quick, funny story. I think I was 3 or 4 months just out of treatment. And we were at some banquet, and I showed up, and I saw this dude across the parking lot, and he was talking to this girl that I was interested in. So some girl I met in treatment. So I hop out of the car, and I run over there, and I stand in between them. I just put my... So I don't believe he liked me very well. But, and it's amazing that the program, the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous and the psychic change and the personality change that I've gone through is like the guy hated me, and now he's one of my best friends today. It's amazing. So my name is Tom Harold. I'm a real alcoholic. Hey, guys. A loving and gracious God separated me from alcohol September 6th of 2014. I have a home group. That home group is The Turning Point. And it's right here in Akron, Ohio, Friday evenings. We would love to have you if you're around. The only day we are not there is Friday of Founders Day. So we will not be there tonight. Okay, I think that was it. Before I start talking anymore, I would really like some help getting out of the way. So if I could ask the whole of you to help me say the serenity prayer, that would really ease me. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Woo! Man, who would have thought? There's quite a few people in this room who's known me for a real long time, and some before I even came into the program. And what a blessing, what a transformation, what an honor and a privilege for a guy like me to be asked to come share with you people. Really dry mouth. I'm really nervous. A good friend of mine, he's in this room somewhere. He said his sponsor says that's just God shaking the truth out of me. Well, he's shaking aggressively right now. Yeah, he's on it. And so I don't even know where to start. I didn't come from an alcoholic home. It was a religious home. It was a home of service. My father was in the service. It was a yes sir, yes ma'am kind of household. It was church twice a week. It was really uncomfortable. Really uncomfortable. The only alcohol my parents had in the house, they kept a bottle of spiced Bacardi on top of the fridge that they drank once a year. A bottle lasted them for 3 or 4 or 5, 6 years, I don't know. I'd found that bottle one summer, maybe I was 12, I don't really know. And I had a few drinks out of it. And I got drunk. And I didn't like it. I got sick, hungover, and I had to figure out how to put the alcohol back in that bottle. Because the dad, he was retired from the Army, extremely strict, and I was scared of him. So I said it was spiced Bacardi. Well, luckily, Mom was a limped-in powdered iced tea drinker, and it kind of looked like the same color. So my cousin and I, we took that iced tea and we filled that liquor bottle back up and set it back on the fridge. If you did not know, powdered iced tea separates after a while, and there was 3 layers of stuff in this bottle. I don't remember the consequences of that, but I assure you they were severe. Man, if you guys could see what I see right now, this blows my mind. I'm going to get off track a few times too, because that's what I do. So I grew up in this household, strict parents, was forced to do a lot of things I didn't want to do. We moved a lot. He was in the service for a while, so I probably lived in 4 or 5 states, a couple different countries. Growing up, I was regularly the new guy, right? Which was real uncomfortable. I also grew up with 2 sisters who were both special ed girls, and kids are just brutal and mean, and it was tough growing up. I felt like that was all on me. I felt like I had to puff my chest out. I felt all the weight. I felt like the weight of the world was on me as a 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid. All the time. All the time. In that household, I know my parents love me. I know they love me. There's no doubt in my mind. But I always felt like I wasn't loved quite as much as my sisters. Now, I don't know if that's rightfully so because the conditions they were under, but I don't know. I was the one always getting in trouble. I was the one always getting the finger pointed out. I was the one always getting punished. And the punishes were he was a big man with a heavy hand. And I don't blame them for any of that. I don't blame him for nothing then. I think that's maybe how he was raised, and actually maybe it did me well. I don't know. I can tell you I was a bad kid. And that's not just because of what they said. It's because of the things I ended up doing. And, I was always seeking attention, maybe because I felt like I didn't get enough. And I would do things to get that attention. And those things just included, I think, maybe what every kid goes through. It's getting kicked out of schools and fighting on the school buses and stealing. And, that kind of behavior started with me really early. Really early. And I didn't feel like, I didn't know there was anything wrong with me back then. But I fully 100% believe that I was an alcoholic way before I ever had a drink. Way before I ever had a drink. Just like just like how all of us feel. I'm not good enough, or I'm not welcome, or I I feel like I'm liked by enough people, or, I never felt like I fit in just because I moved every 2 years. I was always the new kid. And that's how I grew up. Lived in some really cool places, though. Like I said, he was in the service, so it was always somewhere on a beach for some reason. So that was cool. And then parents decided to move to Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. And we're coming from the shores of Texas, somewhere down there. And we moved to Cuyahoga Falls. Today I know why, obviously, but we get up here and it's like, I know there's some rough streets over there, but it just wasn't my type of place. And once again, I start school. It's a couple weeks late into the school year, 2 or 3 weeks late into the school year. So once again, I'm the new kid. I just don't feel like I fit in. I usually walk around with my head down to try to stay out of the way, to not be seen, and just kind of try to blend in. So it wasn't long after that I met some of these local kids, and just out of nowhere, one of them asked me if I wanted to have a drink. And I think I'm 13 or 14, and says, I think I do. So I started drinking, high school. And it starts in, I can't remember this feeling of this blanket that covered me and it just relieved me but I can tell you that after that drink that day, I drank every single day that I possibly could until the day I got sober. Something turned on. And I think that switch that turned on was relief. It was relief. Relief from myself. Relief from my thoughts. Relief from this chaotic whirlwind of emotions that I couldn't turn off in my head. These voices that I could never turn off. I drank this alcohol and I forgot about all that stuff. I forgot about all that stuff. So I drank. I drank and I drank and I drank. And it wasn't long before I started accumulating some consequences from that drinking. I think my first DUI I was 16. I don't know, 3 before I was 21. And I started drinking, but I'm telling you what, the consequences that I was getting, they were never really severe enough for me to even think about stopping or quitting drinking. They weren't. It was just unfortunate circumstances, probably. It just wasn't my fault, right? It wasn't long. It didn't take long after probably the third DUI till I started sitting down on these little county vacations and actually getting locked up, arrested, paying those kind of consequences. And then I get not sentenced, but part of what the judge wanted me to do was start going to Alcoholics Anonymous. And that was in the late 90s. And I can remember walking into my first AA meeting. It was the Paradise Club over on Front Street in Cuyahoga Falls. And I think I walk into this place and, it was packed back in. There was probably 120, 130 people in there. And man, I couldn't believe what I saw. There was 2 dudes over here hugging, and that dude just told that dude he loved them, and there's people laughing over here and people having a good time over here, and It was really uncomfortable for me. So I saw some guy sitting in the back of the room with his head down, and that's where I went. I headed to the very back of that room and laid my head on the table next to him. And I think that was the last AA meeting I had gone to until I had came back into these rooms. So me not continuing to go to those AA meetings, just basically the consequences were getting worse and worse. They were just getting worse and worse, and I was real good at running. So I started running. And I started maybe tossing the idea around, I'm starting to hang out with some people who are in really bad shape. I start seeing, my life is just really in this downward spiral. And I maybe start tossing the idea around that maybe I do have a problem. That maybe alcohol is actually killing me. And those are fleeting thoughts for me, obviously. Right around, I didn't mention this, but I did have some children. And I was always able to kind of be a good father to them. They were always with me. And so in the beginning, for the first 10 years, I was actually able to work. Luckily for me, I was traveling for work. And so I was always out of state. And I was always able to make a paycheck and take care of those children. And that relationship I was in, it lasted about 10 years. And the only reason why is it was because I was gone. I was gone all the time. Because he was also a guy who loses interest real quick. I see something shiny, it catches my eye, and I gotta have it. I gotta have it, and it relieves me. It relieves me of some thoughts. And the next thing you know, it loses that power. And I see something else shining, and I got to go have that. I'm chasing I'm seeking some kind of relief for a problem I don't know what I have. I don't know I have. So when I'm traveling out there, I'm gone for so long. I end up coming home on one of the trips, and I don't know, I think I'm probably weighing about 145 pounds. And one of the kids asked their mother, if I was dying. Some kind of liver failure, skin's gray, eyes are yellow, kidneys aren't working. From alcohol, I am unaware of what I look like. And I feel great, but I'm physically dying. I'm physically dying. And once again, it's being brought to my attention on what the alcohol's doing to me, and it's killing me, and I have to stop drinking. I have kids, and I have a job, and I have a relationship, and I have this, and I'm going to lose it all if I don't stop drinking. And none of that had the power to have me stop. That alcohol had such a strong grip on me. I was bound by these unbreakable chains of alcoholism and couldn't break them. And my life just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. So that relationship I was in for that 10 years. I mean, I don't know exactly what I put that family through. But at this point, it would be the third house and second family that I had lost. She told me if I drank again, that I was gone. She was going to leave me. You know, and I didn't really understand what that meant. But I drank again. And she left, or I left. And that's the only thing I knew. That was 10 years of my life. That was them children in that house. That was home. You know, the alcoholic, hell and torture, she was in bondage. They were in bondage of my alcoholism. And that woman did what she had to do, protect herself and those kids from me. I can tell you what, when that happened, I actually thought it was a good thing. I thought it was a good thing, not because the kids and she were going to be safe, but that meant for me, now I could actually start doing what I wanted to do. It didn't take long after that to where I was living in my mother's sewing room on the floor, 36 years old. That didn't last long because, you see, I have this natural ability to push every single person who loves me, or push them away over and over and over again. So I was out of mom's house, homeless again, nowhere to go, wanting to quit drinking, but can't. Cannot quit drinking. I cannot put the alcohol down. I've tried, and I have tried, and I have tried, and tried. And I could not understand it. You know, I was a pretty gifted kid growing up. I was able to do things that other people weren't. I had abilities, and, you know, I was good at sports and decent at school when I applied myself, and I was just able to do things. And I could not stop drinking. I couldn't understand why. And then I'd go and get in trouble, and now I'm in this whirlwind of the judicial system again, and I go sit down for 6-7 months in the county jails, and you know, and I feel great and I feel good, and they got these little red books in there, and I start reading and learning a little bit about Alcoholics Anonymous, and then I'm never going to drink again. You know, I'm doing some push-ups, I'm eating 2 trays, I'm getting fed, putting some weight up, and man, this is it. I'm not going to drink ever again. And then I get released, and my feet hit that pavement outside, and I'm right to the store. I'm right to the store. It didn't even cross my mind. Right to that vodka. Then that lands me another trip back in the county, and I'm sitting in that same cell block and same routine. I'm never going to drink again. I feel good again. I know what the problem is. I'm going to go left and not right when I walk out the door. And the same story. My feet hit the pavement, and I'm right back to the bottle. And I'm right back to the bottle. And I've been going to some meetings when I was in there, and they start saying all these funny things. And, you know, they said if I want to quit drinking, I have to fully concede to my innermost self that I'm alcoholic, and I wasn't really paying attention too much in there, just listening to the big words they were saying, and it was hard for me to concede to something I didn't know what it was. And they'd read the steps, and yeah, sure, I'll take the steps, but I'm going to take the ones that I want to take, how I want to take them. And I get out of jail and right back to the bottle again. And this is a routine that's going on for years. Life is so bad. I'm extremely homeless. I have no clothes. I'm doing something to get in trouble so I could go sit down, so I could go get fed and take a shower and sleep. That's how beat up I am out there. Alcohol. King Alcohol was my master. And I couldn't break the chains. Every time I was able to not drink for a few days and always went back, I know it today. They tell me that the alcohol always reminded me what it did for me and never to me. And it all makes sense. It all makes sense. So I'm getting to a point in my life where now I'm in my 30s, and every single person I was living with and hanging around, they're all either dead, they're in prison for life, or they had gone to treatment. And this one person I know, they go to a local place called IBH, and they get out, and I link up with this person again, and I don't recognize her. I mean, I don't recognize this person at all. She was smiling, she was clean, she had clothes on, she was happy. She kept talking about God, she kept talking about the 12 steps, she kept talking about recovery. And I wanted it. I wanted it so bad, but I had tried to stop drinking so many times over and over and over again that I knew it was probably unreachable for an alcoholic of my type. And so it wasn't long after I saw her for that first time that she kept talking about this guy that, she knows someone that can get me sober and he's going to help and all this. And I'm like, that's wonderful. I would love to meet this guy. Now, mind you, I'm still in the depths of my alcoholism. And she tells me that this guy's going to be at this meeting on this day. So I'm going to go. I'm going to go and I'm going to see this guy and I'm going to get sober. Like if this girl could do it, I can do it. So I go to this meeting, and I'm going to tell you right now, before I went to this meeting, I tied a real good one on. I went good and drunk, right? He's definitely going to help me if he sees me this drunk. So I can't even tell you what I looked like. I probably hadn't showered in a month. I'm probably wearing bloody, dirty clothes. And anyhow, I got a hold of some alcohol. I got that down, and I went to this meeting, and they point out this guy, and I walk up to this guy, and I said, "Hey, I'm Tom Harold, and you're going to sponsor me." And I honestly don't even know if that's how I said it or if that's how it came out. But I can tell you that this man, he shook my hand. And he said, "I'll pray for you." And he turned around and he walked away. And I can tell you that put such a bad taste in my mouth for Alcoholics Anonymous and all you guys. You guys were a bunch of fakes. You guys were a bunch of phonies. You guys were a bunch of imposters. I needed help. And I was finally ready to get it. And you turned your back on me. So I went back to the streets. I went back to the streets and I got in a little bit of trouble, and about a year or two later, I don't know how long it was, I ended up in front of the judge. I had done something pretty severe and I was looking at a little bit of time, like 4 to 16 years. And this lady looks at me, this judge looks at me and she says, "Have you ever gone through residential treatment?" I said, "No, I haven't." She says, "Would you like to?" I said, "Yes, I would. It's way better than the alternative." So I sit in the county waiting on this bed at this residential treatment center. It was IBH. And they come calling. My bed was ready. So I go and I show up at this treatment center. And they have phases there. It's a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 kind of place. And I'm in phase 1. I'm in phase 1. I'm 36 years old. There's a bunch of 20-year-olds. I was surrounded by a bunch of kids, but I was off to my first meeting at that treatment center. We weren't allowed to leave, so they brought speakers in. And we go into this room, and I walk into this room. I was maybe the last one in, and I had a seat at the head of the table, and I look across the other end of the table, and there was that guy. There was that guy. I did not hear one word that man said during that meeting. Not one word. All I was focused on was putting together what I had for him. Then I had a lot to say to him. So the meeting's over, all the other kids get up and they walk out of the room. This man, I got a handkerchief for this part. Whew. This man walks up to me, he looks down, and he says, "Are you ready to get sober?" I forgot all those words I was going to say to him. Nothing come out. I said, yes, I was. And hell, he may have stayed up there that day to do some book work with me. I can't remember. It did not take long for us to get busy. That man is still my sponsor today. Sitting right there. I love you. Sponsor, best friend, best man at the wedding. You know, I don't tell that story to make him feel any type of way. I tell that story because it tells me in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous that a man is probably not to be approached till he's clear of the fog, especially about recovery. He's not going to be receptive to it. If that man would have said yes that day, "I will sponsor you," I firmly believe that I probably would not be standing behind this podium right now. I firmly believe that my life would not have gotten bad enough. I would not have gone through all that pain, the countless humiliations that I had to go through to actually be willing to try something new. God knew exactly what he was doing when he had Jim Messenger tell Tom Harold, "I will pray for you." I was not ready. I was not ready to stop drinking. I believe that pain is a touchstone of recovery, and you have to live it. At least for me. I believe I had to keep going through those countless humiliations, that I had to be stripped of every part of self-will that I had to actually want to give this an honest, thorough try. I had to be beat down so bad. I was destroyed on every single level. physically, mentally, emotionally bankrupt. I had to want to die. And that's where at the end of my drinking, I had come to believe that my alcoholism was going to kill me, and I was okay with it. A guy like me, an alcoholic of my type, there was no help. There was no hope. I was going to die out there, and I was okay with it. I tried to speed it up. Is that right? Alcoholics Anonymous saved my life. The 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous completely transformed my heart, my mind, my emotions, my attitudes. It has recreated my life. The 12 steps. My recovery came out of a book. These 12 steps were a treasure map. This treasure map led me to that one who has all power, the only one that can keep us sober. Those are what those steps can do for you. I am so grateful for Alcoholics Anonymous. I love almost everything about Alcoholics Anonymous. Is it time? I think my watch is broke. Look, guys, if you're struggling with getting this, or if you're still stuck in a hopeless state, or even if you've been in the rooms for a long time and you're living a life of quiet desperation, try something new. Go to someone else. Have someone else take you through the steps again. Because it has the ability, not only the ability, it can and will save your life. And I am so grateful for the life I have been given by God through Alcoholics Anonymous. I owe everything I have to God and Alcoholics Anonymous. Everything. I love you all. I thank you for listening. I'm Tom Harold, I pass.